All right, today we are digging into the story of a true cultural architect. We're talking about the one and only Dr. Dre. Producer, artist, entrepreneur. The man is a legend. That's the big question, isn't it? How does a DJ from Compton end up becoming hip hop's very first billionaire? Well, the answer is this incredible story of relentless drive, of innovation, and maybe most importantly, independence. So let's start at the very beginning. Okay, so our story kicks off in a place that really shaped who he would become. Compton, California, a place known for both its hardship and its incredible creativity. Right from the jump, his life was this fascinating mix of two different worlds. So, on one hand, you've got him at home, just soaking up these amazing soul and jazz records from his parents. We're talking James Brown, Marvin Gaye. But then, on the other hand, he's out on the streets, dealing with the really tough realities of growing up in Compton. And it's that mix, that soul and that struggle, that became the absolute foundation of his sound. Okay, so check out this transformation. Dre's first big break was with a group called the World Class Wrecking Crew, and they were all about the flashy costumes, the polished, kind of shiny electro hop, music made for the dance floor. But Dre, he just wasn't feeling it. He wanted to make something real, something that actually sounded like the world he saw every day. And that feeling, that need for something more authentic, is what pushed him toward NWA. And wow, what a change that was. NWA? This wasn't just another rap group, it was a full-blown movement. Their album, Straight Outta Compton, was just this raw, unfiltered explosion, talking about police brutality and everything they were seeing on the streets. The track Fuck the Police was so powerful, so controversial, that it actually got them a warning letter from the FBI. Of course, that just made them even bigger legends, right? They literally became the voice for a generation of young people who felt completely ignored. But even a group as revolutionary as NWA couldn't hold Dre's ambition. There were issues over money, and he knew he needed to forge his own path. And this leads us to the next chapter, and honestly, maybe the most iconic part of his entire career. This was a huge turning point. He wasn't happy with how the money was being handled at NWA's label, so he teams up with the infamous Suge Knight to start Death Row Records. And his goal was crystal clear. He wanted total control. Total creative control, total financial control. See, for Dre, it wasn't just about getting paid. It was about having the freedom to create whatever he wanted with no one telling him no. He wanted to make the West Coast the undisputed center of the hip-hop world. And to pull that off, he knew he needed a signature sound. And that's where G-Funk comes in. Man, this wasn't just a new type of beat. It was a whole vibe, an entire atmosphere. It was slow, heavy, super melodic. You could hear those funk influences from his childhood all over it. It was smooth, but it had this kind of menacing edge to it. It was the sound of California, and it was about to take over everything. And the ultimate showcase for G-Funk? That was his 1992 album, The Chronic. This thing wasn't just an album. It was a cultural bomb that went off, cementing the West Coast's dominance. And it also introduced the entire world to this super charismatic, laid-back rapper who was the perfect voice for Dre's beats, a young guy by the name of Snoop Dogg. But here's the thing. While The Chronic was making Death Row a global phenomenon, the empire started to show its dark side. The music was reaching incredible heights, but behind the scenes, the vibe at the label was getting really, really toxic. Suge Knight's methods were getting more and more violent, and it created this really dangerous environment. And for Dre, a guy who just wanted to lock himself in the studio and make music, it started to feel like a trap. So he had a choice to make. And if you look at his career, you see this pattern of him making these incredibly brave moves. He walked away from NWA back in '91 to get financial control, and now in '96, he does it again. He walks away from the massive empire he built at Death Row, leaving millions of dollars on the table, all for his artistic freedom and, frankly, for his own safety. This next chapter in his life is all about resilience. Think about it. After leaving Death Row, he's basically starting all over again. And for the first time in a long, long time, people were actually betting against him. So he starts a new label, Aftermath Entertainment, built entirely on that idea of independence. But its first album in 1996, it was a commercial flop. Critics called it unfocused, and you could hear the whispers all over the industry. Maybe Dre's lost it. Maybe the magic's gone. It really looked like his career was on the ropes. And then, a demo tape changes absolutely everything. His partner, Jimmy Iovine, plays him something from this unknown white rapper from Detroit. The style was just so sharp, so provocative, so brutally honest. And in this moment of pure creative instinct, Dre heard something that nobody else did. He found Eminem. Look, this partnership didn't just revive Dre's career, it was like a nuclear bomb went off. After he produced Eminem's massive breakout hits, Dre dropped his own comeback album, 2001. And this chart just says it all. You see that first Aftermath release, kind of flat. And then, bam, that huge spike with 2001 debuting at #2 on the Billboard 200. It was an absolutely triumphant return. The king was officially back. So that comeback really set the stage for his biggest move ever. See, Dre wasn't just thinking about making music anymore. He started looking around and saw a huge problem with how we were all listening to it. And he thought, you know what? I can fix that. And the formula he came up with was brilliant and actually pretty simple. So, problem number 1, all this digital music and these terrible cheap earbuds were just ruining the sound quality. The solution? Create a pair of premium headphones that not only lets you hear the music the way it's supposed to be heard, but that also looked amazing. The result? They weren't just headphones anymore. They became a full-on status symbol. And the result of that? Just complete and total market domination. Take a look at this. Beats by Dre grabbed a mind-blowing 64% of the entire premium headphone market in the US. Think about that. They didn't just join the market, they were the market. Everyone else was just left fighting for the scraps. It was an absolute cultural phenomenon. $3 billion. Just let that number sink in for a moment. $3 billion. That's the number that changed the game forever and cemented Dr. Dre's place, not just in music history, but in business history. So in 2014, Apple comes along and makes the single biggest purchase in its history. They bought Beats. And just like that, Dr. Dre wasn't just a music mogul anymore. He was a legit titan of the tech industry. The DJ from Compton had officially become hip-hop's first billionaire. And you'd think that would be the mountaintop, right? But he didn't stop. In 2015, he helped produce this Straight Outta Compton movie about NWA, and it was a massive critical and commercial success. It even got an Oscar nomination. That same year, he drops a brand new album, Compton, proving that even after all that time, all that success, he was still pushing things forward, still innovating. But when you really think about it, maybe his greatest legacy of all is his incredible eye for talent. I mean, the list is just legendary. Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar. He didn't just give them hits, he helped build them into global superstars. And because he had fought so hard for his own creative freedom, he could give his artists something most couldn't, the space to be totally themselves, but with the best sound in the world behind them. It's one thing to spot genius. It's another thing entirely to know how to nurture it. So when you step back and look at the whole story, there's one theme that just screams out at you. From his days with NWA, to building and then leaving Death Row, to creating Aftermath, and finally to that massive deal with Apple, his entire life has been one long, relentless fight for independence. To own his art, to control his own destiny, and to build a massive empire completely on his own terms. And that kind of leaves us with one final question to chew on. What was the real engine behind his legacy? Was it his game-changing, innovative sound? Or was that relentless, unwavering need for independence that gave him the freedom to create that sound in the first place? What do you think really powers a legacy that lasts? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.
Ken Music.